Hey everybody, welcome back to Darth Snugan's Toy Reviews. Today we're going to take a look at Claws Skeletor and Flying Fist He-Man. As you can see, I've actually got a new Claws Skeletor still in the package we're going to open up. I do have the Flying Fist He-Man from the Origins line. I'd already opened him. Sorry, I didn't save him for the video, but we're going to take a look at him and take a look at the new Claws Skeletor. And I do have their original counterparts here, just to give you an example of what the originals look like. Unfortunately, I don't have all their accessories, but it's good for just a comparison to see how close these new Origins figures match up to our originals. So let me go ahead and get our vintage out of the way. And we'll start with our Flying Fist He-Man. And let's see, we have his power sword. We'll go through all the accessories real quick. So, out of the package, as you can see, he has, like the vintage, he has that waist twist, which almost identical to the vintage. You have the little... not necessarily a lever, but it's a little place where you can push your thumb to make them spin. And let's bring out the original again so you can see that. See here, you have the little notches, and when you push that with your thumb, yeah. So they stayed pretty true to the original figure as far as the design. Some of the colors are a little bit different, but it's very close. Now, I always thought this figure was really weird because unlike all the others, he's got really big feet. Just in comparison, and his legs and everything were it's just a little bit weird. I guess it's in the design in order to make him have this waist twist. On that vintage figure, they really had to bulk up his legs so he'd stand upright. But our new one, you've got all this articulation. It's a really nice figure. I really like that they did the vac metal on it as well. And on his back, we have the little place where you can put... And I don't even really know what they call this thing. This, so you could have that on his back. Or he can hold this in his hand. Yeah, it's silly, but it's nice to see them take some of these variants of He-Man and give us a good release in the Origins line. And the shield it looks just like the original shield. You've got the little spinner on it. Pretty cool. I dig it. He also gets his power sword. Of course, you're not going to have He-Man without a power sword. And just like most of the other Origins Deluxe figures, he has an alternate head. This being more of almost like the re-sculpted head. They're just giving him that windswept hair. This is pretty much the same exact head that's in that Battlefield Warrior set with He-Man and Battle Cat, minus the blood. But we're going to keep the vintage head on because that's the preferred head. But yeah, I like it. Just another He-Man figure. Pretty cool. Definitely a must-have if you're an Origins collector, and if you really appreciate them remaking your vintage figures. You really need this one for your collection. Now I didn't mention, but out of the box, his left hand is open. They do give you an additional gripped hand, and that's how he's holding both his weapons currently. So, taking a look at Skeletor, his vintage figure, it's the same way with the Claws Skeletor. The feet are oversized. Now this one has really loose legs, so he really is a little wobbly. But he doesn't quite have the same motion feature. His, when he spins, it just seems like he's dancing. It's just kind of weird. But we're going to take a look at the new Origins figure. We're going to get him opened up and take a look at all the accessories. Really excited about this figure. Let's bring it in a little bit closer here. As you can see, he's got that silly little crop top that Skeletor likes, apparently. And then you can see all the accessories, and of course the big terror claws. And what would Skeletor be without his Havoc staff? And again, an additional head, which is really cool. So let me fix the camera here so we can get a view of the artwork. We get to see Skeletor with Too Bad and Spike Ore, which we haven't got Too Bad in the Origins line yet. And I believe we've seen... Have we seen stuff for Spike Ore yet? Off the top of my head, I don't remember. It seems like he's one who's coming as well. I would suspect we're going to have all of them before too long. Alright, and then we got a little explanation of how to use his Terror Claws. Very nice. And our cross-sell art. Alright. So... let's move everything else out of the way so we can focus on this new Skeletor. Give him all of the viewing area here. Alright, so if you haven't noticed, it's bent up, of course, because it comes from Amazon. And I try not to get too mad about it because I plan to open these. But yeah, this was in a bubble envelope. That's just how you want your deluxe action figures to get shipped to you, is in a bubble envelope. Thank you, Amazon. But like I said, I'm opening it, so I'm trying not to get too worked up about it. Okay, so we're going to we'll just grab up here this top corner of the bubble. Just going to ram the finger in there. Split it across the top. Trying to keep the card intact because I do like to save those. We'll put it off to the side. Inside the package, we get a new mini comic, Under Siege. Very cool looking. Got your Flying Fist He-Man featured right on the cover. And we see the Horde Trooper and Grizzlor. And the Terror Claws Skeletor. Nice. And we even get our Hordak. And again, the cross-sell art. And then, as always, we have the little card telling us which parts are removable. Alright, so to get Skeletor out, we're just going to pull the little plastic enclosure out. His head is kind of... Okay, got his extra head out. Alright, so we got his little... I don't remember what they actually call this thing, but... Snapping Skull weapon. Of course, his Havoc staff. Here's the additional head that he gets. Let's see if we can focus in a little bit. The Skeletor heads, to me, are kind of hit and miss. I think I only really like a couple of the heads that they've released for this figure. Alright, so he's actually in the little package pretty secure. His hands and his feet, so we're going to have to cut both of those. And of course, be careful not to cut yourself when you're doing this. Or the figure, for that matter. Alright, so Skeletor is out. And just like with our He-Man, you have the little spinner on the back for him to do the little action feature there. It's so silly looking. First, let's take a look at his Terror Claws. See how well those snap on. As you can see, they just pop over the hands. It's a whole different thing with the Origins figures because of that articulation. Because with the vintage figures, you really didn't have a whole lot of options as far as how the claws looked on the figure, because those arms are just coming straight down. Matter of fact, let's since I don't have the original accessories for my vintage one, let's see how well these new ones fit on our vintage figure, or if they even do. And they don't really fit great. Yeah. The way the original hand was sculpted, with those little like fins on the hand, they don't fit too great. Yeah, so that's about as good as you're going to get with the new claws on your old figure. So let's put him back out of the way. Now, I will say that it would probably make sense for us to go ahead and swap out the open hand for the closed fist or closed hand, just for the sake of making it easier to put his claws on. I guess that makes more sense. And that doesn't even seem like it's going to work too great. I haven't really read much on this figure, whether or not there was any issues before getting it, so if this is a known issue, I probably should have known that, but okay, there we go. I guess that makes sense. The way the hands are, you have to kind of turn them a certain way. As you can see, it's almost like he's holding them like they're guns or something. They're weapons. I mean, technically they are, but you get what I'm saying. It's such a silly figure. Okay, so let's look at the rest of his stuff. And I gotta point out, the shade of purple is different than some of the other figures. It's a brighter purple. Makes me think of actually when I was doing the review on the mini figures, the Eternia minis. They kind of got the purple right on one of those. Now, this is actually a little bit different, but I don't mind it. There we go with his Havoc staff. And let's try out his skull weapon, or his, what was this thing called? Snapping skull weapon. Alright, let's take a look at his other head that he came with. Of course, they gave him one with more of an open mouth. Almost like he's laughing at you. Not unlike Skeletor, but still, I don't really like the open mouth faces that they've released for this Skeletor. And I'm still, if I'm being honest, I'm still waiting for them to actually give us that green. We still really haven't seen much of the green around the face. like some of the old school figures had. Alright, so I'm gonna put his claws back on because those are much better than that weapon. If they'll stay on. There we go.
Now, the most powerful warriors in the universe have the most powerful weapon. It's Terror Claws Skeletor. Against Flying Fists, He-Man.
My claws of terror will rip you to shreds. Try your claws on my hammer fist or my slammer shield. Incredible weapons.
Watch the weapons fly as Flying Fist He-Man battles Terror Claws Skeletor. New from the Masters of the Universe, each sold separately from Mattel.
Alright, so our Terror Claws Skeletor. And our Flying Fist He-Man. And if there was ever a complaint that I had about the Origins line, it's how loose the bend in the foot is. It's sometimes impossible to get these figures to stand up simply because the little articulation in the foot is just too loose. I almost wish they would just kept them like the originals and not had any kind of articulation in the foot. Now, I love the arms and bending at the knees and having swappable heads and being able to swap parts. But that bend at the foot has been the, for lack of a better term, been the heel in this line. Oh, that's a terrible pun. Anyway. Yeah, so what do you guys think of these figures? Do you like this new Terror Claws Skeletor and Flying Fist He-Man? How do you think they compare to the originals, or do you prefer the original? Yeah, I always thought it was weird, and he has the hard head. I mean, they did a good job of updating him and making him look like all the other Origins figures. Quite honestly, I don't really care about all those other accessories. I'm happy just to have my He-Man look like this, and have his sword, and have Skeletor to have the Terror Claws. I never cared about this. Is probably why I never really sought it when I picked up this figure. I didn't really care about completing the figure and getting all the accessories that came with it. It was just never something I cared about. Now, I did always want to have the claws from a Terror Claws Skeletor. That just never worked out. And before I could complete my original line, guess what? We had the Origins figures out. And look at that. Just noticing. The paint is already coming off of that little skull on his chest. Ah, come on, Mattel. You gotta do better than that. We had that issue with the Battlefield Warriors He-Man, that the little plate was coming off. That's not good. I mean, the original is still holding the paint better than that new one. So at this point, I normally would do, you know, let's measure, let's see how they compare, but it's always the same thing. They're between 5.5 and 6 inches tall. They're never any bigger, never any smaller when it comes to your vintage and your Origins. They're usually always going to be under that 6-inch mark. So I'm not going to bore you with that. But I do think it's neat to have these side by side and get a good look at them and see like the different shades of brown that they use for, like, say, He-Man's boots and for, you know, his shorts. But they kept that same color for his gauntlets, even though with the old version where you had that half gauntlet. Of course, our new version we have the full gauntlet, but it's completely painted. And that's the same color too. Really dig that. they stayed so accurate to the original. I really appreciate that. Alright, so that's going to be it for this one. Appreciate you guys sticking around. Remember to give the video a like. Leave a comment. I love to hear from you. And if you're up to it, subscribe to the channel. It all helps. It all helps me make more videos. But yeah, I appreciate your support. Everybody have a great week, and I should be back soon with more videos. Thanks, guys.